Greetings, world of YouTube, and welcome. Today we are talking about one of our ingredients for growth, and this topic I'm sure you've probably heard about before, but today I'll be sharing my own personal insights and a few tips so that we can make this part of our daily lives, our daily routine, so that we can continue to grow into whatever avenue or whatever we are trying to achieve in our life. So the topic that we're talking about today has to do with picking up a book and reading. Now, I'm the first one to be able to say that I hated reading. Like I've shared before, I was a pretty bad student, did more work trying to get out of work than if I would have just done it in the first place. And so when I was first introduced to the idea of reading books for my personal growth, I was completely against it. I felt like there was a ton of other things I should be doing, which clearly and obviously I was completely wrong on that. But it was good because I learned so many things through it, and I developed a few tips that I'm going to be sharing with you to help, again, make this part of your daily lives and your routine. Alright, so first, my quick personal story on my first book that I really started picking up when I really started to try to work on myself and develop growth was at a period in my life where I had a family, or I have a family, and it was something new to me, and I was really starting to feel the responsibility of putting food on the table and a roof over our head. And so I wanted to get more information on the financial world. It's obviously helped a lot of people, and a lot of people have been able to be successful in it. And so I wanted to pursue it, learn more about it, and see if I could make it part of my life. And so I went and I stuck my big toe in the water, and as soon as I did that, I saw how complex and dynamic the financial world really is. It has its own language that if you're not really fluent in it, it can be extremely intimidating, which it was to me. And basically, as quick as I put my toe in the water, I took my toe out and ran for the hills. I was just way over my head going into it with that approach. And so, you know, it made me discouraged for a couple months. And so I resorted back to everything I was used to doing, which was working overtime, trying to pick up another job, cutting back on my expenses, my time with my family and my friends. And after a couple months, it kind of repeated itself. I was fed up, something had to give, so I wanted to research it again. The universe provides like it always does, and I was able to meet up with a good friend of mine who is also like a mentor to me. And it was, again, perfect because he was in my exact position maybe 2 years before me, and I had seen him go from that person who I currently was into the person that he was, which basically had a financial cushion, especially in the position I was in. I mean, it's still today, it's, you know, he created a huge cushion for himself that, you know, helps us put that food on the table and the roof over our head and give us the opportunity to, you know, spend some time with our family and friends. And so I was eager to sit down with him, and I was grateful for the fact that we were able to sit down and have some lunch. And so as soon as we sat down, I was like, okay, so I want the perfect algorithm. You know, if this happens, do I do this or that? Or if that happens, do I do this? And of course, he had a hearty laugh with it because, like I said, it's just so dynamic in the financial world that it's hard to do that kind of stuff. You know, you really have to have a knowledge base that's superior to even have that kind of setup. So even himself, he's like, I don't even have anything like that. He's like, you know, you need to read a book. And I was like, I don't really read books. And so on a napkin, he writes down the title of a book, the author, and he slides it over to me. I look at the title on the napkin, and it's 7 Steps to Financial Freedom by Tony Robbins. So in that moment, I was really reluctant. I didn't want to have to read a book. It just was not my thing. And but I was forced to look at the reality of it. You know, here was this guy sitting in front of me that was in my exact position. And just in 2 years, he created this cushion for himself that, you know, it would be perfect for my life, right? How many times have we been in that situation that we see somebody else and we think, oh, that could be perfect, and we want it the easy way, and then they tell us, of course, that sometimes it takes a little bit of work, every time really. But anyways, and then I looked at the book and I saw that it was Tony Robbins. If you're not familiar with Tony Robbins, decades on decades of serving people, helping people. And I knew that this combination between, you know, the proof right in front of me and the opportunity to read Tony Robbins' book just made sense. So as soon as I got to the car, I ordered it online, and in a couple of days it showed up at my house. I didn't really pay too particular attention to the details on the book, but as soon as it showed up, it looked like this. This is the book. It was over 500 pages, and you know, for me as a person that didn't read, it just seemed like a task that was not for me. So of course, what did I do? I made it a giant paperweight on my desk, and it sat there for a couple months, and again I resorted back to everything that I was normal or used to doing. Working overtime, cutting expenses, you know, missing out on time with my family and my friends, and history repeated itself. A couple months passed by and I was again frustrated, flustered, sitting at my desk, and what's there staring right at me? The book that I paid, you know, $20 for, just staring right at me, that supposedly had all the answers to it. So I started off with just the introduction. I said, just get through the introduction, see what this book has to offer, and then, you know, take it from there. What happened after that was almost comical, because within 2 weeks, my fiance can vouch for it, I was almost like angry if I didn't have the time or the opportunity to read my goal that I had set for that day. So if I missed it or something, it was just, you know, I was like, I have to read, there's so much good information. I was just learning so much new information every single day that I even, you know, I had to take notes on it because it was just that much information for me. And so even after this book, it compiled into other books on finances, from Warren Buffett to, you know, business books, everything. And so it's really cool to see how these books can really start to get your process going and just really help your knowledge base and just really, you know, run with it. And so that's why I want to share it with you. You know, I was trying to learn because I was in the position where, you know, I wanted to put food on the table, roof over our head, you know, the responsibilities that I see for myself. And, you know, it really started this thing in my life that I am experiencing and living, and here to share with you that, you know, it can do the same for you. It's just, you have to pick up the book, not just order it, but actually read it, and, you know, your life can really start to change. So a few tips that I want to share with you about introducing this into your daily routine. The first tip, I want you to use your imagination a little bit here and just think that instead of it being a book, think of it as actually being the person. So obviously Tony Robbins, I'll use this as an example, is still alive, and there is of course an opportunity, a potential I should say, to have a conversation with Tony Robbins. Chances of that happening are probably pretty slim. He's a busy person and has his own agenda. And so what's the next best thing? Picking up a book, okay? And when I really didn't feel like reading, I saw it as an opportunity that I could meet Tony, that I could sit down with Tony Robbins and have a one-on-one conversation with no distractions. And it was almost to my advantage, because when we have a conversation in real life, there can be something that we misinterpret or that we mishear, and we can always, if we misread something, we can always go back and reread it again. So we have that to our advantage. Also, if we meet somebody of status or of importance, or someone like Tony Robbins, you know, we might almost not know what to do or say or have the right questions. So in this environment, you're able to go at your own pace. There's no ego involved. You know, it's just you learning. And that's the other important thing, is a lot of times we might want to ask a lot of questions and talk and get ahead of ourselves. In this situation, we're almost forced to listen because we're reading. We're just taking in information, which when you're not the smartest guy in the room, you want to be listening. And you should be trying to put yourself in a lot of those rooms where you're taking in a lot of information. So picking up that book is just a perfect opportunity for you to have a one-on-one conversation with Tony Robbins. A good example, Sam Walton, Terrence McKenna, both unfortunately have left us, but they have books. You know, we can read about them and the success that they've made in their life, the discoveries and their travels and their inspirations that we can then utilize in our daily lives, despite the fact that they're no longer with us. So in that case, it is our best case scenario to pick up their book since they're no longer with us. So again, just use your imagination, see it as that important, because then we will make it that important, okay? Another tip I want to share with you is to start with a book that's in your wheelhouse. What's cool about starting with something that's in your wheelhouse, there's actually a few reasons. The first is that when you start with something that's in your wheelhouse, for example, if you're a real estate agent, start with a book about real estate. And the reason for that is, as we go into stuff that interests us and that we find interesting and important, it's easier for us to go back to it and start this as our new habit. For example, in my case, I had a strong why with it, or a reason for wanting to read finance, because I wanted to be able to provide for my family, you know, my responsibilities. And so it was just easier to go back to it. And so as you start with something in your wheelhouse, just give yourself all the advantages you can and start with something that you know, and so it's easier for you to keep going back to it, okay? Another important reason for starting with something that's in your wheelhouse is that as you're going back to it day after day, you're also subconsciously training yourself and building confidence to show yourself that you can get through a book, that you can go from chapter to chapter or 30 minutes a day and eventually cover to cover and really finish a book and continue to read and see what else it can stem off into and again compile into. So by starting with something that you're interested in, you're building that confidence and that discipline almost subconsciously to help make that habit a true part of your day and your life, okay? Now the last one that's interesting about this whole wheelhouse thing is that, let's say again you're a real estate agent, and this is something that you do every single day. This is your career. You write contracts, you show real estate, you know, commercial, investment, residential, whatever it is. There's always stuff for us to learn. Now I know you're pretty bright and smart people, so I'm not going to say it's 100%, but I would say 99%. There's always some piece of information that we can, you know, take from books that we read. And for us to start off with our first book and see that in our in our first book, the thing that we're most fluent in and the thing that we're most comfortable and confident speaking about, that there's still stuff for us to learn, I feel like that's just a huge boost in the reasons why for us to read books. Because then let's go to the weakest part, or an area of the business that we're not too confident in, and see how many things we can learn from something that we're maybe not that confident in that will help our overall business, okay? So again, real estate agent, you can do person-to-person books, or you could do a business book. All of those are gonna help your business and your real estate, your overall goal, and help you as a person to be able to provide more for the people that you are working with. All right, so that's important on why to start with something that you're interested in, something in your wheelhouse. Now the last tip I have for you is to have an accountability partner through this. Accountability partners are awesome because some of us may be slightly competitive, and so you don't want to fall behind if you guys are saying, hey, by Friday, you know, let's read through chapter 5. You know, we almost feel that urgency that we don't want Friday to come and us not be up to chapter 5 yet. And so it's something that helps motivate each other. And so, you know, you're learning, growing, and you're having that extra, you know, reason why to get it done. A good way to look at it, again, like I said, you don't want to be that person that maybe doesn't read all the chapters, but there's also potential for you to be the person that does read the chapter 5 while your friend only reads chapter 3. And that's a great opportunity for you to be a leader, for you to be a motivator. And then that just shows you more reasons on why to stay committed, because now you're helping somebody else out, which of course, like I've said, I'm a sucker for that. We're here for each other to help each other grow and build. And so when you have that opportunity, if it does present itself, then, you know, it's just part of that accountability. You're there to help them out, help them, you know, stay encouraged, stay through the process so that they can continue to grow in conjunction with you. So those are my 3 tips on why or how we should be trying to help ourselves when introducing this to our lives. Like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory with all of the evidence and proof out there, with all the successful people that still read books today, the people that are on their way up the ladder that are hungry and reading books every day. It's something that you can absolutely make part of your life. I don't want to hit you with the cliche that if I can do it, anybody can do it, but it's kind of necessary because, like I said, it was extremely hard for me at first. My reading level, I don't even know where it was, but it probably wasn't very high. But as of now, you know, being able to read more proficiently, of course I paused there, right? More proficiently and comfortably, and really able to retain a lot more of the information that I take in is just, you know, it's been awesome. So I want to share this with you. Can't leave it out of our ingredients for growth. It's important for this video. I want you guys to add your comments down below and share your favorite book. It can be about business or success, or it could just be whichever book you find interesting. You know, what's cool about this and the fact that the comments go right there is that it's public. Other people can see what you're reading, and like I said, we're here for each other. You know, if you have something that's interesting, I know I'm a sucker for it. If you say it's a good book and I read it and it's remotely interesting to me, then I'm going to pick it up and read it, just because, you know, as we pick up different books, there's a lot of different things that we don't know, and that's the best way to grow. So add your comments down below. I really want to hear from you guys. I'm sticking it to you guys to make sure you do that, alright? And other than that, share this video for that accountability partner. You know, get them motivated, let them see what's gotten you, you know, this idea and motivated to start reading. So you guys can do that together. And then don't forget to hit that red button, the subscribe button, if you haven't already. And so you can get more content. You know, we're releasing videos all the time, a lot of materials such as this, and so much more. Alright, so hit that subscribe button. And until next time, guys, I'm Jonathan, signing out. Peace.